students, how's everyone? A very warm welcome to the very first session of economics. I know all of you were eagerly waiting for this because we had not started our economic sessions, and this is one of the most awaited videos because of naturally the difficulty that we are facing in economics. And trust me, I can relate with you because economics is something that I found to be so difficult personally. And I mean, like the concepts of everything, different terminologies, different ideas, different philosophies. It's been a challenge for me. It's like physics in science and economics and social science has been always a challenge for me. I'm not sure if I should be sharing this with you, but I feel you for the people who know that it's very difficult. Yeah, but don't worry, I'm there with you and we are on the same boat. We'll get together and we'll make it really easy for both of us. Okay. So let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Ankana, your master teacher for social sciences at Vedantu. And I hope all of you are staying home, staying safe and doing absolutely amazing. And let's quickly get started with this very first chapter of our syllabus called the productive mechanism. Okay. Now, under this, we are basically going to understand the process of production, different factors involved for it, and the importance, the meaning and characteristics of these, factors in detail, in depth. Guys, one thing I quickly want you to understand or to be aware of before we move forward is that we are only going to take topics, not just in this chapter, for all the chapters and sessions that is going to come in the future. I'm just giving you a heads up and letting you know that we are only going to use, we're only going to discuss the topics which have been prescribed in your revised syllabus. As you know, not entire chapters of ICSE board has been omitted. There are certain topics or subtopics which have been taken out of the chapter. So by any chance, if you feel there is something out of your chapter which has been missing, which is missing in the videos ma'am has not explained, that would only be because of the sole reason that part is not coming in your examination, and we are covering up the topics as per the revised syllabus. Okay, chalo, let's quickly get started, and let's first of all, before everything else, understand what do we mean by productive mechanism. Now this word sounds so complicated, right? And it is complicated if not understood properly. So let me try and break this down as much as possible for you and simplify it. If we go by the books, the production, the meaning of productive mechanism is basically a mechanism or a system which determines the production of various goods and services in the economy. Now that sounds really complicated. For the people who understood it well, very good, kudos, congrats. But for the people who are like me, how I was as a student, let me make it simple for you. So if I want to try to simplify this, and in simple words, if I want to say, it basically means a system where production is production is there. Okay. And what do we mean by production? It is a process of creation of material goods. Okay. Simple. Okay. When we try to break it down in the easiest form, it just means that creation of material goods. Now what are material goods? We will understand that. First of all, let me also tell you that father of economics, Adam Smith, also defined production as the creation of material goods only. Remember the word only over there. He's saying this is it. The only creation of material goods is production. Now, what do we mean by material goods? So, material goods are basically goods that you can touch, you can see, you can feel, which has shape and size, like table, chair, pen, any material, any tangible item, any item which is tangible, okay, which can be touched, which can be felt, which can be seen. So, all the production of these things, the creation of these things were qualified, or you can say categorized or defined as production. Now, this was the idea of the father of economics, Adam Smith. But he was an economist who was there in early times. Now, modern economists, as we are modernizing, as we are moving towards more and more modern world, and more studies, more research and everything is happening, more new theories are being introduced, came new economists as well. Now, these new modern economists refuse to accept, not refuse, I would, that's a very strong term, I should say they kind of disagree with Adam Smith. Okay, they what they think is that it is not just the activity of creation of material goods, but it is also activity of adding with, I mean, like, it is also an activity which creates economic utility of the goods. Now what do we mean by economic utility? So before understanding economic utility, let's understand utility. We'll break down each and every term. We will not use any complex English term also, because in economics, every term which in English by as per language would mean something, the literal meaning would be something else. In terms of economics, it changes. Okay, so utility means addition of value, value addition, value adding, adding any kind of value to anything is known as utility. So what would economic utility means? Adding any kind of monetary value, economical value, okay, related to money. So the modern economists said that when production, so production is basically the activity of adding economic, monetary value to anything. When you're converting something, any material good from one form to the other, and that is adding some sort of monetary value to it, that is known as production. Now do you see the difference? Adam Smith said that any kind of production, any kind of creation of material good would be production. Modern economists are saying no, it has to get added on with some economical value, some money value, only then that becomes production. So this is the view difference in the viewpoint of these two economists. What we are going to understand by productive mechanism is that it's basically a system which transforms goods from one form to the another. So I'm again simplifying it for you. Okay, production basically means in order to happen for these two things. Okay, for in order to create a material good, or to add any sort of economic utility to the goods, what would production have to mean? It would basically mean transformation of the goods from one form that it exists in to the another. Only then, when it changes its form from one to the another, value can get added to it. It will become maybe more valuable. Now what do we mean by this? Okay, so let me just get back to the same point. Now there are a lot of goods which exist in their natural form. Okay, now these goods in their natural form, or however it is, the raw materials, if I say in layman's language, which we use in day-to-day life, it is not really useful for me. It's not very resourceful. It's not very economically beneficial for me, which means it does not have that economic utility that we are talking about. Neither it is a produced material good. For example, wood, for example, wheat. The way it exists as raw materials, it's not going to bring me any money. It's not very useful for me. So it has to change from that state, from that form into another form, so that it gets added on with certain economical value. For example, if a carpenter works on the wood and changes it into a furniture, then that is production. We will say that the carpenter has produced furniture. Okay, production, produced furniture, because now the wood has changed its form from wood, from raw material, it has transformed into furniture, and that furniture now has some economical value to it. Similarly, let's talk about wheat. When the farmer has produced wheat, that is also production, but at this stage it's not really going to bring him a lot of monetary value. So he adds on to the monetary value, he adds on to the utility of it by creating a new material good from the existing wheat, by changing it into flour. Okay, when he changes it into flour, it gets added with some economic utility into it. We add some additional value to it, money value to it, and this is known as production. And I will say that the farmer has produced wheat, or the farmer has produced flour, to be more precise. Okay, now guys, when we are changing this, anybody for that matter is changing the product from raw material to the new material good. Okay, when this transformation is happening, it can't happen on its own. It has to undergo a process. Now when it's going under this process of production, this process is only known as production, as you know, changing of the formation of the good from one form to the another. When this production is happening, there are certain things required in order to make sure that production happens, the process gets completed. Think about it. I'm saying the wheat has to get converted into flour. The wood has to get converted into furniture. Can it happen on its own? It won't. We will need to provide certain things to it, to the raw materials, for the change to happen. For the wheat to become flour, for the wood to become furniture. And these things that we are using, that we are applying in order to make this change happen, is known as inputs. Okay, and this is also known as factors of production, which I will get to you in some time, which we will get at in some time. But let's keep it very simple right now. Anything that I am putting in this process of production for the changing of the transformation of the material from one form to the another will be known as inputs. Okay, now after putting these inputs, the formation happens. Okay, the transformation happens. Then the new product that I'm getting will be known as output, which means after giving my input, the change happens, the transformation happens, and then the result of it is known as output. So this is basically the process of production. Input is when you use something, you put something for the process of production, and output is what you get out of it, what is the end result, what you obtain out of the input, and the process of production is known as your output. And this entire process gets added in this process. What are we doing? We are adding value. Value addition is done, which is creation of utility, and the transformation of input into output is happening. Okay, now this utility actually exists in different forms. This value addition can happen in various forms. Okay, it can happen in form of, it can be form utility, place utility, time utility, or service utility. Now there are various kinds of value addition that can be done to the object. Now what do I mean by this? It's very simple. Okay, so when for example when we spoke about wheat, it had to change its form from wheat to flour in order to get added with utility, right? If I go back to the previous slide, we are doing value addition, right? We are creating utility. So for wheat to create utility, we had to change it into flour. What happened? The form of the object, of the material, changed. It changed its form, or it changed its shape. The same thing happened with wood also. So this kind of utility is known as form utility. Similarly, when there are certain things, okay, now nature gives us with a lot of resources, but those resources, wherever are available, is not useful for us. For example, let's say petroleum, it's under the surface of the it's below the land, right? It's under the soil. It's not useful for me there. Coal in its mines is not useful for me. It's not useful for us. Anything, okay, which is there existing in its let's say not anything, a lot of things which is existing where it has come into existence is not useful for me. So what I do is I pick it up from that place and I put it into some other place. And the moment I do that, the moment this displacement from one place to another place happens, the value addition happens to that material automatically. Now what do I mean by this? When the coal is in its mines, okay, or when the coal is below the surface, it has not been dug up, it's completely useless for us. It's not, there's no addition to of value to that coal. But the moment I pick it up from there and take it to industries, it becomes useful for us. The wood in the forest is not really useful, but the moment I pick that wood from the forest and bring it into the market, it becomes useful. Correct? So this is place utility, which means when you change the place of the material goods, changing the place is adding value to it, and that becomes place utility. When you change the good from one form to another form, it adds value to it, it becomes form utility. Similar thing happens with time utility. Now this is slightly different. It's not like here also we are placing the good, picking it up from one time to another time. Now how do we do that? Now a lot of material goods like peas, okay, is available in abundance at one period of year, and it is not in other years. For example, peas is available in abundance in winter season, but it is not available in seasonal foods, any seasonal food for that matter, but it is not available in summer. So in winters it is available to me in abundance. What I will do, I will store some part of it in the cold storage, and when it is in shortage in summer, I will take it out and put it out there in the market. So this is known as time utility. Peas was not really very valuable during winters, However, in summers it became more valuable for me because it was not available in abundance. It was a little short in the market. So when I put it out there in the time where it is with a slight scarcity or less supply of that material, then it is getting added on with more and more value, and that is known as time utility. Now these were basically in terms of goods. Okay, economics may if you see, even when we discuss what is production, sorry, what is productive mechanism, we said it is the process that, I mean, like, the system that determines, if I go back, it was basically the system which determines the production of various goods and services. So it was both the things. So right now, till now, we have been speaking about only goods. But now I'm also going to talk about services. So whenever we render services, whenever a supply of services is done, whenever services are provided by certain people like doctors, teachers, etc., in general, that is known as service utility, which means their services are adding on value. Instead of their services, they're getting some money value. So that is service utility. Okay. Now, bacha, for anything to for production, anything to qualify as a process of production, I mean, for anything for me to say that has undergone the process of production, it has to has few characteristics. Number one, we have been talking so much about utility, right? Number one is that it has to have money utility. It has to have money value. Okay. Second, it must have undergone this process where it must have changed its form. So these are few characteristics which define service, which defines its, the process, which justifies that it has been gone, that the material has gone under the process of production. Now, why did I bring this up? So I'm saying that provision of services, whenever services are being provided, it produces money value. For examples of doctors and teachers, that is why it qualifies as service utility. But when a housewife is working, okay, she's constantly working, she's also providing her services. She's investing herself, she's putting in some work, and she's providing her services. But that is not bringing out any monetary value addition to her work. So that will not be counted as utility in terms of economics. Remember, it is very important what the housewife is doing. But because it is not producing any money value, we wouldn't say that it is having, the utility is being created over there in terms of economics. So you have to remember that when services are being provided for free or out of love, out of affection, and does not create any economic utility, that is not considered as service utility. Okay, so let's move forward and talk about factors of production. Now, what are factors of production? So if you look into the definition that's given in the book, it's very complicated, and we will look into the complicated definition as well. But in simple words, I want to tell you that we just right now a few minutes back discussed that there are certain inputs required from our end, right? Whenever the transformation of the material goods is happening, when it is undergoing the process of production, we need to put certain things for the transformation to happen, which is known as inputs. That is exactly what factors of productions are. It's basically the goods and the services which we use as resource, like the different resources which exist, which we use as goods and services to make sure that the production happens of the goods and services. That inputs is also known as factors of productions. Now there are four factors of productions, bacha, okay? Land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Now we will look into into details of these factors, but first let's talk about something else, which is the problems faced by all our bachas. Okay, and these problems have been brought to us by you only. So what are these problems? If I generally ask, the problems that you face, I know most of you would be thinking right now, doubts. Ma'am, we have so many doubts. How do we clarify that? How do we talk to you? Now, what are certain schedules that we should follow? So all of these have been a very common problem with all of us, right? Doubts, notes. Ma'am, how do I get the notes for this? What are the certain tests and assignments I should be taking before, because my exams are approaching? How do I prepare for the competitive exams? We are in 10th standard right now. We have to keep preparing for all those competitive exams which are happening now, and which will also happen after 2 years. I have to be prepared for it, right? What is the schedule that I should follow? And the most important is the choice of language. I mean, right now we created this new channel because you needed this choice of language. You were not comfortable with Hindi. So don't you worry, guys. We have come with a super solution for all of these problems that you have. Your problems have been solved. And trust me, it has not just been solved limited to this. We have come with multiple bonuses for you as well. What are these bonuses? Unlimited live classes. You can have as many live classes as you want. You don't have to wait for these videos to come on YouTube, videos to be premiered on YouTube. You'll have access to all the micro and crash courses all the time, 24/7, 365 days. Your live performance videos, we don't have to wait for the mentee and the leaderboard. You can keep getting live reports each and every moment that you're participating, that you're indulging into the classes, and of course personalized attention. Few minutes back I was telling you that you so many times would long to talk to me directly, right? But that is something that has been sorted out, and all you need to do is just go and click on this link. The moment you click on this link, this is where you will get this one-stop solution for all your problems. You just have to click your grade, select your board, 10, ICSE, and then you can find the details right over there. You don't even have to listen it from me. You can find all of it right over there, every detail that you need. And all you're supposed to do is just click on that get subscription button. And the moment you do that, you'll be taken to an option where you have to choose how long do you want the subscription for. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. And guys, the most interesting part is, which is no less than a magic, that these subscriptions were available for a certain price, but I will give you a magic coupon code which will reduce the price immediately. And the longer you take the subscription for, the more discount is available for you. So cool, right? I mean, the 1 month plan for 2699 can with this code only come for 2294.15. The 3 month plan 6999 will just come for 5949. I mean, so cool. And for 6 months is super awesome. I mean, 11499 is becoming just 9774. What is this magic code ma'am is talking about? So it is AEKPRO. Okay, so you just have to go click on this link and put the code AEKPRO. Guys, if you do not put this code over there, the magic will not happen. You will not get the discount. So make sure you're making a note of this code and applying it right over there, because you're my dear bachas and you should get some benefit out of it. Correct? Chalo. Now let's talk about the factors of production that we were discussing right now. Let's understand this in depth. First one, land. Now what is land? Now land in general we understand by the surface of the soil, right? So it's not just limited to that in terms of economics over here when we are referring it to as factor of production. Land pretty much means everything that has been provided to us by nature. Air, water, all the resources that the nature has gifted to us will fall under this. It's basically a large umbrella which covers the natural resources that we use as an input for production process. Okay. Now, there's one thing, okay, we always underestimate land a lot. We always kind of do not recognize the importance of land. If you see, everything majorly depends on land. You can say it's kind of a primary factor. Why? Communication, transportation, formation, infrastructure, forest, everything exists on land only. And we forget to recognize that because it is so common. This building, the house, you and I, what we walk on, the transportation, all the developments happens on land, right? On the surface of the land. That is why it becomes such an important input. It has to be there in every production that is happening, even if we do not realize it. Any place that is production is going, production is happening, has to happen in a factory or some place where land would be used no matter what. Okay, so every type of production, land is required. That's why it becomes the basic factor. And it is kind of, you can say, the original source. It is the primary source of all wealth. Why? Because everything begins from the land, guys. Okay. And what is the reward of using land? Rent. Whenever you use land, you give it out. What do we get in return? We get rent. However, this is known as a passive factor. It is not a direct factor involved, and we will see why going forward in just few minutes. Okay, so however, it's a passive factor, but this is what actually leads to the optimum use of labor and entrepreneur, and we will see how. Okay, so this is basically land. Now let's talk about labor. Now labor becomes this another very important and active factor of production. Like how I said, land is kind of passive factor, the labor becomes a very active factor of production. Why? Because no matter how many all resources you have, all the other resources, all the other factors of production becomes useless if you do not have anyone to work upon it. Because in all these resources, in all these factors, we need someone to work on it, right? You need labor to work on it. Someone has to physically go and physically or mentally work on it. Either you physically work over there or you come up with ideas to use it. So physical or mental work is happening, labor is happening, and who does that labor? Human. So without human work, any of the factors are completely useless. Okay. Now what are the labors? So adding on to the point that I spoke about some time back when we were discussing utility, that utility is not, service utility is now not counted when money value is not being added to the services. Similarly, under human work, exception is there. So for every human work, for all the labor that is done, people receive wages in return. So if you're not receiving wages, then it is not considered as human work or labor bacha. Okay? That is why the work that is done out of affection by mothers, by family, by friends is not considered as an example of human work. Although the human labor is happening, but it is not bringing out any money value, right? The reward is not being received. So that is considered as an exception. And this is considered as an active factor of production. Okay, the land, the capital, for that matter, all other factors and resources will become useless if human labor is not there. It makes only sense and becomes possible for us to use it when human labor or work is there. Okay, which brings us to the next part, the third factor, capital. Now, what do we usually understand by capital? The moment I say capital, what comes into my mind is financial assets, finances, money, because that is what is generally in day-to-day life in terms of business is meant by capital. When I say I want to put some capital into it, we generally are referring to finances, money. But that is not the same in case of economics. Remember, sometime back I told you that when it comes to economics, the words which have a general meaning in literature or the literary meaning changes when it comes to economics. The same was happening for so many things, and the same is applied here in terms of capitals also. So if I have to explain you, capitals are basically investments that we are doing. Okay. Now what are these kind of investments? So the uses of already produced goods for production further, like tools, machines, vehicles, etc., all man-made means which further have already been produced and are being used further to lead on to production falls under this capital. Not just that, bacha, the investment is not just in material goods but also in humans. Now we also invest in ourselves to upskill ourselves, right, to enhance our skills, to enhance our knowledge. That is also used for, you know, production process. That is also something that can be used as that can be counted under capital. So as per the modern age, as per the modern economists, this is known as human capital, which means already produced stuff. So it may not just be man-made materials, it could also be man himself with the skills and the knowledge that the person has, the investment that has been done in that term. Now what does capital does for us? It helps, I mean, like the entire economy, growth of economy depends on it. It helps us in production of high rate of capital formation. And that is what makes capital very important. It increases the productive capacity of an economy, right? Because if you're not putting these inputs, what will enhance it? Nothing. There would be nothing to increase, to enhance it. So interest is to be paid to the capital. Interest again becomes the money over here. So obviously if I have to take something which has already been produced, or if I have to take some person who is skilled or knowledgeable, I need to pay interest for it. And that is what is meant by capital. Which brings me to the fourth and the last factor, the last input, which is enterprise or organization. Now this again becomes very important. Now before I get into the technical term of it, I simply want to make it easy for you, because a lot of times we fail to understand. So in simple words, all these factors, labor, land, capital will be useless for me if I do not have anyone to work on it, if I do not know how to use it, if I do not have the technology to use it. So enterprise or organization, you can see, is the means, is the technology, is the know-how to put all of these three factors together in order to lead the process of production. This is the very simplest form I can explain this to you. Okay, so basically you can say entrepreneur. Now who are entrepreneurs? So anyone who is taking care of an enterprise or organization is known as an entrepreneur. Now this person basically looks after the entire planning, takes care of all the other three factors by paying the rent, which is related to land, by paying the wage, which is related to labor, and by paying the interest, which is basically capital. And he brings all these three factors together respectively and is known as an entrepreneur. Now, no production is possible if there is no man to form a plan. If I don't have a plan, how will this happen? If there is no man to put up the factory, how will the land, the money, the labor and the capital come into use? And what is the reward that this entrepreneur receives? He receives the profits that is generated out of this process of production. Okay, because he is the one who decides what needs to be produced, how it needs to be produced, and how much, the quality, the quantity, all of this is being determined by the entrepreneur bacha. Okay, and that is why he becomes, you can say, the center of it, who binds all the three factors together. The entrepreneur or the organization, the setup which is taking care of all the planning, binds all the three factors together. Now everywhere we were saying few factors are passive, few factors are active. This is important. Without this, this is not will not be there. However, every factor plays some importance in itself, which means all of these are interdependent. We cannot say that without any of the one factor the production can be done. It will fail, it will just collapse. All these factors are interdependent. Okay, however, land is a passive factor, but without land, production cannot happen. Where will you place your factory? Where will anyone go? Where will labor work on? All of this needs a base. Land is the base for everything. Similarly, without labor, who will work on it? Let's say I have a planner, the entrepreneur is there, the land is there, the capital is there, the produced goods are there, everything, all the technology is there, but nobody is there to work on it. There is no mental or physical person to provide labor on it. Then how will that happen? And the same goes for capital. However, it's a passive product, however, it's a passive factor. Without those machineries, without those tools, or you can say without those skills and knowledge, how will you lead the process of production further? And of course, entrepreneur, he's like the captain of the ship. He's sailing the ship. But of course, we need the ship for that to sail, for the captain to sail the ship, right? And that is the land, you can say. The food on that is the capital. And labor are the people who are providing that food to everyone. Now all these factors are so interdependent that it becomes equally important. We cannot say that this is an active factor and this is a passive factor, and so this can be removed and this cannot be. All of these factors are equally important in different fields of production, and without any of these, the whole process of production will collapse. Okay, so guys, with this we are done with today's session. And if you have any doubts, please make sure you're putting it in the comment box so that I'm able to pick it and discuss in the next, in the doubt and the mentee session. However, in the next session, we are going to come up with a lot of new information. We're going to talk about all of these factors of production in details. We will understand its meaning, its characteristics, and everything further in detail. Okay, if you think this video helped you, you know what you're supposed to do, you know the drill. Just hit on the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel so that when I'm coming with the next part of this chapter, you get the notification immediately. And stay tuned for that, guys, and I will see you in the next session. Till then, stay home, stay safe, take care of yourself and your loved ones. Bye bye. Have a great day ahead.